take these emotions out of the body into our aura and our field. So level 1 is very intention-based. It relies on our free will. When somebody lays down, they're not surrendering to us. It's a process of finding the dense emotions, bringing them out into their body, and they give us an intention. We do some non-dual psychology, we work with the mind, we work with the body, but then we turn their intention into a mantra, into a vibration, a frequency. So the intention we work with, it's a virtue. It's almost like a mantra being we create in that space. It should be something we can channel. So we can channel compassion, inspiration, creativity, forgiveness, joy. We tune into the energy that they're asking for, and then as we pull the dense energy out of the body, it can be quite a visceral experience as we're working with the breath, we're working with the nervous system. There's definitely a level of science to it, but energy's harder to put into science because it's flexible. It doesn't want you to judge it and label it and really confine it with words. Words make our vibration very dense because then we have judgments we can control. So it's always playing with this balance between logic and emotion. So as we bring the negative emotion out into the body, we work with intention and vibration. That emotion changes in the field, and then we're able to bring that emotion back into the body. So when we're giving people sessions, it's therapy. You're transforming trauma into pain. And then we learn to work with physical de-armoring, so we start to work with physical pain. This is the process of transforming pain into pleasure in the body. We resensitize the nervous system, we teach the body universal law. Non-resistance, non-attachment means our vibration stops being dense, our vibration becomes higher. The moment we're attached to our pleasure or attached to our happiness, we can't have bliss and joy. The moment we're in resistance to our pain, we start to fight our pain, we have more pain. So we start to take basic universal law, vibrational universe, reflective universe, what's within, what's without, non-resistance, non-attachment, and through the process of de-armoring, the non-dual psychology, we're teaching the body universal law so it can relax, so it can expand. So this is mostly what we do in sessions when we've learned level 1. When we come into level 2, we start to work with higher dimensional energy, we start to work with the descent of, you can use the word Kundalini. Kundalini is a very complicated word, and the more we put meaning onto the words, the less Kundalini, the less power there is, because it's not something we should be able to quantify with language. But from a more traditional perspective, when you have a spontaneous awakening, knowledge just descends down your spine, it comes into your sacral, so non-dual awareness, God, you want to call it, comes down your spine, into your sacral, then it's in polarity. This is where we live. We live in separation. You're a man or a woman, you have emotions. The whole of reality is built on polarity, universal law. So as that energy comes into our body, it's polarized, and then the essence of Kundalini is these two imaginary snakes, Ida and Pingala, polarized energy, weaving through our body, burning our trauma and pain, until it can come back up into the third eye goes to our head, back into oneness. Very oversimplified way of understanding the practice. So we're learning to work with polarized energies in the body, primarily emotional energies, so it's not Kundalini awakening, we're working with polarized energy in the body in level 1, and that's the right hand path. It's free will, it's intention, what do I think is good for me, what does my mind want, and then we look for alignment in the body. We look for 3 yeses. My sex says yes, my heart says yes, my mind says yes. We don't have those 3 yeses, the work's not multidimensional. It's not, you can't find alignment when part of you is in resistance. We make all the polarities in our body healthy, we make our darkness healthy. And then when we have 3 yeses, we're able to surrender to ourselves. We're able to surrender to our intention. But it's still willful. It's still in the state of separation. So what we learn in level 2 is more of a left-hand path, which is the path of surrender. So traditionally, you would see a guru, who would do something called Diksha, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, and then the guru would activate you, and in that process, he would take your karma. My understanding, if he's not a vibrational match for your karma, it's okay. But if we're to activate people in this way, we're potentially taking on their karma. Karma can be good, karma can be bad. So we don't do that in this practice. We learn to help somebody surrender to their higher self. And the reason why a lot of people enjoy group practices instead of one-on-one, other than their ego really likes it, because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of information in the room. So when we think of energy and energetic activations, it's not an energy, unless, well, it could be, but we're not looking for an energy that we can take away from somebody. We're looking for information. Information is energy. So the descent of Kundalini is the descent of information. It's divine knowledge. It's information that comes into your body. So if I give you information, I don't lose it, I still have it, and you have it in your body. But it's not my energy that we're putting into you. You're not surrendering to me, you're not surrendering to anybody in this room. We're opening our consciousness to let our higher self in. But in that state, we're not really separate. So every time we come together, there's more energy in the room. There's more information in the room. And very likely, we've all got karmic ties, astral connections with shared parts of each other's lives. When people's bodies get very activated, information's coming into their spine. All the knowledge of who you are, all your karma, it's in your spine. So we create this space where we contain our energetic field. We learn to make every chakra healthy. So every chakra gives and receives on an emotional level. And then when we come into level 2, we learn that every chakra can give and receive on an astral level, bringing spiritual information into the body. And that allows us to change the vibration of our body, to let more information and knowledge. So being in a group, there's a collective consciousness. So we're always balancing the left and the right hand path. You can explain the left and the right hand path in many ways. Again, this is just my perception and my way of understanding reality. Really encourage you to see that it's a mystery school, the body is a mystery school. There's not really rules when you're working with consciousness and energy. It wants you to have an experience. It wants your soul to learn your lesson. It wants you to vibrate in a different way. And according to your astrology, your life experiences, your life path, what you're here to achieve, you'll experience that differently. So maybe a different culture works for you, a different way of understanding it. Any way you understand this session is completely up to you. It's experiential. So when we lay down and we learn to give group sessions, what we need to do as practitioners, as facilitators, is be the best aligned version of ourselves that we can. Our root needs to be open, our crown needs to be open, every chakra needs to be giving and receiving. We have to go through this space that we learn to work with energy and with divinity through our spine, that we can feel it in our hands. We've taught the body already to embody the practice. So how we're working isn't in our head. We've trained our body knows what to do. Now we can stand back, go into a meditative state, and then just trust, get the ego out the way. As soon as the ego's out the way, we realize we don't exist, our client doesn't exist, the person lying down doesn't exist, then energy can start to move and transformations happen. So that's the practice that we're really, really holding on to. This is different. It's different to Shaktipat from a traditional guru sense because we're surrendering to our higher self. We're not gurus, we're just creating that space where somebody can be witnessed. As soon as you witness somebody, they have your information and their session is different to when they do it on their own. So what, level 1, we learn to do nothing. We just sit there and meditate and hold space, and the session occurs because we're witnessing, because we're observing. That's what most people need. We do a lot of things, we heal, we try to do all this body work. Most people just need to take some long, deep breaths and have somebody be present for them. Because there's no separation between us and them, and that presence and the information in our body being aligned allows them to find their alignment. It's not our alignment, it's their alignment. We're not trying to turn them into us by putting our information, our imprint into their body. We're allowing them to find their higher self, higher dimensional consciousness, whatever terms work for you. So it's different to Shaktipat. It's also different to more modern activation practices, cat, inner dance, closer but still different. Lee experience, there's a lot of them now, there's a lot of these energetic activation practices. I can only give you my understanding. For the most part, how I see those sessions happen is, as the facilitator, you surrender. So there's an energy and there's a transmission that's running through your body. You surrender to that energy and transmission, and then the person surrenders to that energy and transmission. Now, if that's a really pure energy and a pure transmission, there's not really any problems with it. That's great, you can surrender, it's going to be healthy for you. But when you surrender to something that's an energy and it's not God, then it has its own purpose, it has its own free will. And as more and more people become practitioners, other entities, other energies, other sometimes malicious energies can come into the space. So the further away you get from that original transmission, different energies can start to come in. And then when you don't know how to protect that space from somebody, it's kind of a level of black magic. You sacrifice your energy, something nice happens into your life, then maybe your cat dies. Because it's a matrix, and then you're back in polarity and energies are trying to balance themselves. So you just have to really be aware and trust your intuition. What do you want to surrender to? So in this work, we really learn to hold space, we surrender to ourselves, we invite our higher self in, we learn how to close our energetic field. And from that non-dual state, often the bad thing that happens to us is really what we need, because we don't know what we need, and that's what surrender is. When we surrender, now something terrible, maybe your cat dying is the perfect thing because it set you free and you traveled the world and you met the love of your life. So in that state of surrender, anything can happen. Bad things might happen. And that's why it's non-dual, and that's why it's surrender. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing, just this is different, and this is what this is, and you're free to work and train with whoever you like. So when people do this training, and most of them want to do group sessions. We didn't used to teach group sessions, but everybody was doing group sessions, so we thought it was good to start to include some information. There's a lot more in the online course around responsibility and holding it, but we generally hold it like a mini workshop. We teach them about the left-hand path and the right-hand path, and now we want both paths together. That we can surrender and we can have our free will. We have discernment in what we're surrendering to. That we have this alignment in our body, that we're staying in our sovereignty. And then we're learning to work with double ascending energy. Okay, maybe that's too much information. No. So when we're giving somebody a training, we're teaching them to work with both the left and the right-hand path. And this work is fundamentally tantric. And as we understand Kundalini in a rising, although there's a descent first and then there's a rising, unless it's Kundalini yoga, then it's completely willful. It's locking the bandhas, it's using the breath, it's pumping up and up and up, and it's kind of going from hell into heaven, or heaven comes into hell and takes us up. So this is the ascending and descending pathways. And what we're learning to do in this work, if we're only ever going into activation spaces, Kundalini will burn away everything. It will burn away all your karma, all the good, all the bad. It will take the muscle away from your body. Your body will get smaller. It will take the chi out of your organs and your glands. It will deplete your body so that it can transmute this energy into your third eye, chemical level creating DMT, so that this can then calm out the crown of your head. Kundalini is the physical matter turning into spiritual energy. So the way we learn to work tantrically is taking higher dimensional spiritual energy into our body and turning spiritual energy into matter. So matter becomes divine, so that we become spiritual beings, that we bring that information in. So we're always working with Tantra and Kundalini at the same time, so we don't learn to deplete our body. And as this is an abstract concept, we learn that in a physical level in a very grounded way, through just understanding Dhyana, understanding our breath, our nervous system, how to increase energy into our body, how to let energy go out of our body. So when you're giving group sessions, they should be at least around 3 hours long. You're teaching about the breath, you're teaching about the nervous system, the left and the right hand path, and all of this is in the advanced training. We give you all the handouts that help you run mini workshops, and that's how I started doing this work, and it's just grown into 2.5-week workshops, because the first ones it really works, and intention is a big part, and we let them you help them understand that the intention is their free will, but they also need to accept they might not know what's best for them. And the work is paradoxical and tantric, and we get there through working with polarity. So as long as we explain the system of how the work is multidimensional, paradoxical, working with polarity and tantric in everything that we do, and we start to help that understanding, that knowledge, that awareness into the body, and you teach them how to take a long deep breath and to transform pain into pleasure, then you've done a great job. Actually activating somebody's energy all of the time is not always great for people. And when we learn to make every chakra system healthy in the body, and then an activation occurs, nice energy comes in. This is when you dance, you go into mudra, beautiful energy, people sing. When you bring this energy into the body forcefully, and there's still a lot of trauma, this is where the screaming happens, the body's going into these unsymmetrical shapes. You can actually knock somebody's spine out if you really let that energy go and they're not ready for it. So we're just working with everybody where they're at and learning to make the emotional body healthy, and then as they start to tune into more of a tantric way of working, there's nicer information in the body, and then we just have this polarity between working with Kundalini, burning physical matter away, bringing spiritual energy into the body to turn it back into matter. So it's polarity everywhere, constant polarity, masculine, feminine, tantric, Kundalini. You just make the polarities up. It's everywhere, and as long as you're explaining this work through polarity, you'll do a good job. So giving sessions one-on-one, you know how to do, you know what to do. Preparing the space, one of the main things I do before I prepare a space is I clean it. I like to often come and clean the floors myself, burn sage, I'm very minimalistic in the way that I work. You see, there's no deities, we're not of one culture, religion. Generally, there's just a candle and a stick that I burn for smoke, and some music. We don't always use music, so you understand that the energy's not in the music. The more we use music, plant medicine, sound, we kind of give our power away to the spiritual paraphernalia that's then creating the session, which is great, it helps, but it's very good to keep realizing that all of that is inside, and you don't need anything to facilitate this work, and that will give you much more confidence. So when you come into a space, cleaning it, making it feel like it's your own, and then as we learn to, have we done this yet? No, we haven't. So when I come into a space, I just learn to expand my aura and my field. I find my highest connection, the highest knowledge that I've attained, bring that into my body, and then I try to put myself into the space. So there's no separation between me and the room, between me and every person laying down. If your ego's out of the way, you're in that non-dual state. So that it's just consciousness is everywhere, and wherever consciousness is and you observe it, then there's more consciousness. So you have to get out of yourself, open the room. There's no separation between you, the room, the candle, the mat, the cushion, the person laying down. It's all consciousness, it's all the same. So when you get into that kind of energy, that alignment, you can start to hold the space. What's different is the information between different people is changing. So as you're walking around the room, saying, helping people increase the chi and prana in their body, holding a safe space. But when we work one-on-one, we learn this is my field in separation, they're laid down, this is their field. I can come in and out and work in this non-dual way, then I have complete empathy, but then I feel their pain in my body, I feel their trauma, it makes me sad. I come out of their field, I clean my body, I realign myself, then I can go back in. When you're in the space, it's just a much bigger field, and you're still responsible for cleaning when there's a lot of trauma being released, to make sure that energy isn't overtaking the room, and that people really are tuning in, that they're opening their crown, that higher dimensional is coming into the body, and then the chakra and the aura system is opening, but people aren't just going crazy and depleting themselves. If you come to a session and someone just activates the base of your spine, you don't have a great lifestyle, you don't have many friends, you drink, you're in a terrible environment, you burn all of that life force that's for your enlightenment, and then you leave and you go into a terrible environment and you don't have anything to reflect that beauty, then you've just doubly lost. You've lost all the chi in the spine in your back and you've got no transformation inside of you. So you've just kind of robbed that person for them to kind of shake around on the floor. If you're of a different mind, a different consciousness, you have a nice environment, and you have some trauma, then we can activate that energy, you can start to clear that pain, have a healthier system, your universe starts to change, you're in a beautiful environment, that environment comes into your body, you lift your vibration, then you can rebuild that store of energy. Then you've done them a service. But just to activate everybody isn't always the best thing. So we're looking, what does a person need? Do I need to calm them down in that state? Do I actually just need to kind of help them get into their anger so they can get through that block? There's no exact way of working. You have to tune into every person, but you're understanding them as if they are you. So it's easier because they are you, and most of the time you know what you need. And then when people go into trauma, so if they're hyperventilating, if the energy's getting stuck in their lower chakras, then we have all the techniques that we've learned in level 1 to help people out of trauma. I think that's maybe enough of an overview of the work and how we hold space. Otherwise I say too much and then things get lost. So what we're going to do today is practice.